Hello, this is an overview of how Operoo's school productivity and process automation platform can help your school manage your school trips without paperwork. School trips mean loads of paperwork and manual processes, starting with your internal paperwork, everything from your trip applications to finance approvals and budgeting, through to booking transport and accommodation. Each part of a school's process will also have a workflow sitting behind it, with different levels of approval required. This produces a lot of paperwork, which ends up sitting on different desks, clogging up email inboxes, or getting lost. Then, once a trip gets approved, you need to send information to parents, collect consents, payments and other information, and extensive duty of care information. Then all this collected data gets collated and reprinted into a trip pack, which is a GDPR nightmare and often ends up left in someone's car or, amazingly, just goes missing. But there is an alternative. Schools use Operoo to manage their whole trip process, from end to end, in one digital system. From staff completing applications, to approval workflows to move the data through your school, parents completing consents, verifying and updating existing duty of care information, then, on trip, staff having access to all the relevant information. And Operoo is completely customisable to mirror each school's unique process. I'm a member of staff who wants to go on a new trip. I log into Operoo, and alongside other forms and processes, I have the option to start a new trip form. This can contain any information you require, and however you start your process, as that member of staff, I need to complete any mandatory fields before I submit this form. Once completed, this is going to go to our EVC for review. Then on to school finance. This is an example of a workflow, and these can be as complex as you need them to be, with different sign-offs for your process. Let's switch to being the EVC, the next person in this workflow. As the EVC, I get an email saying a new form has been submitted for me to approve or reject, and a link. When I click on that link, I can log into Operoo. If I don't action this, I'm going to be sent reminders every couple of days that this needs completing. This stops schools getting the digital equivalent of papers piling up on someone's desk. From here, I can view the form submission, see any previous workflow stages and what data has been completed up to this point. I can add any notes, and I need to approve, so this goes on to the next stage, or reject, so it goes back to the submitter where they can update any issues. Once we have this approved, we can collect any other data needed for this trip from the staff side, with additional forms for things like risk assessments, staff leave, cover requirements, basically any information you need to collect for internal documentation and sign-off. Each form can have its own requirements and workflow to move the data through your school. Once we have everything signed off and the trip is ready to go ahead, we need to collect parental consents, emergency medical and contact information, and payments. We also might need to trigger actions based on specific bits of data. For example, a parent is asked for the latest result of their child's COVID lateral flow test. Based on this result, we might want to send staff these details, add them to a group, for example, geography trip, negative result, or take a series of other actions if the result is positive. This is all automated using Operoo's triggers. Like staff, parents are sent emails with requests they need to complete. They click on that link and fill out the relevant form. Before I complete my trip request form, I want to look at our student record. This is showing a parent the information which is currently held by the school on their child. If I need to, I can update information here to update the school. Let's do that now by adding a new medical condition. This ensures that your school's core records are kept up to date, and the duty of care information you have for this trip is current. Now that's up to date, I'll go and fill in my trip request form. As a school, you can customise this form like all forms to your requirements. In this example, I have a letter at the top with some links, then a series of questions I need to complete. This question is using our appointment time type, which deals with limited availability. In this example, different activities with limited space on each. This works equally well for waiting lists on trips. You'll notice we have a question here: is your child currently taking any medication not listed on their profile? So, for example, some antibiotics for an ear infection. I'm going to say yes, pay, and then submit my form. Back in Operoo Central, you'll now see that I have another form to fill out: administration of medication. This is a trigger. This means an action is taken based on a specific bit of data. In this case, saying my child is currently taking medication means I get another form to complete. Once we've collected all our consents, we're ready to go on our trip. This is where Operoo replaces the big trip packs which are normally printed and sent with staff. Going back to our staff view, I have a trip shared with me. I can see all of the relevant documents. This can include our Operoo completed documents for risk assessments, staff leave, cover requirements, alongside documents supplied externally, transport confirmations, details of the hotel you're staying in, etc. I also have the group of students I have a duty of care over. I can do things like take a register, send SMS, email or push notifications to parents. I can add student logs for incidents, injuries or even house points. And crucially, I have access to their profile and duty of care information in case of an emergency. And that's not just online. Using the Operoo app, I have access to this information in an offline, GDPR compliant, fully secure way. So if I'm halfway up a mountain on our ski trip with no mobile signal, I still have this information. And if an incident happens, I can log this, and Operoo's workflows and triggers will mean that it is sent to the correct people at the correct time. Operoo gives schools one platform for end-to-end trip management, from staff completing forms, digital workflows to get that signed off, parental consents and medical information, and collating all this information together to take on a trip. Thank you very much for your time. If you'd like some more information on Operoo, please do get in touch.